Yo, peace. This is Wise. The Trojan War is within. Title of this live stream. So, peace to everybody that's out there. Anybody decide to listen, check with me later. I hope all is well. I hope the beast is not pounding you down too much. Continue to persevere and continue to be strong in these strange days and times. I'm actually doing something a little different, so I'm out actually outside. So you may hear a little bit of rain in the background. So I apologize in advance. But yes, the title of this live stream is The Trojan War Is Within. And the reason I named that, as today I was kind of just thinking about whether going, doing like a morning tea and chat or just kind of going live now. But this morning I was just sitting back meditating. I was just thinking about, uh, one of my kids was asking me about, the movie Odyssey, and in particular how a lot of people was, saying the movie was trash, and and I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan, but a lot of people were just saying that it was trash. You shouldn't go see it, blah blah blah. And I took my kids to go see it, and then afterwards, I asked them for their opinion after they saw it, like whether they thought it was trash, whether they thought it was, what's the word that a lot of these Talmudic uh, infiltrators are saying. Oh, it's DEI. Oh, it's you know race swapping and all that. So just want to ask my kids what they thought, and they thought it was fairly okay, not as bad as what people say. But one of the things that I noticed with myself, especially when I go see movies in the theater, is the crowd, like social media, like the world. Most of them are just regular people looking to be entertained. They don't think deeper or further. Majority of humans. And then there's a few of us out here in the world that look at things in a deeper esoteric and even deeper philosophical meaning. And one thing that I respect, what's up, young man? Uh, Appreciate with like Nolan and many other is they're on a very different mental communication trajectory than most directors, most people, most you know people that you see out here in social media. And I tend to be the same way when it comes to my channel and how I channel my thoughts and my information about things. That I try to, I'm on a different, I know I'm different. I'm on a different signal. And many of you guys that rock with me, the reason why we do relate is because you guys more than likely are on that signal as well. But one couple of things in particular as I move into linking this into the bigger issues with the B system here in America, but is the movie was not a mockery, but it was a deeper conundrum in Western theology, that if one is to believe in Western theology, then what has happened will happen and it will be catastrophic. Most of the people at the theaters after the movie was over with, I stuck around. I sat in my chair, and some people stuck around, and me just being engaging, I kind of asked people, "Did you guys catch the meaning, or did you guys even know the meaning?" And most people were just like, whatever, man. Like, the movie was, whatever. It was just about, Odysseus, and then other people are like, oh yeah, it's, Trojan War, and Odysseus, and how he, had to go through this great trial and tribulation to make it back home, and etc. So yeah, well, yeah, of course, that's the story. That's the whole entire mythology of Roman and Greek mythology, of course, right? Whether it's the River Styx or Dante's Inferno, the Divine Stories, all these different story books that I've read over the years. But I said, but here's what you're not catching. If we was to play into Western theology, which makes up a lot of America's and even Western governments' systems, their structures. You see it. Capitol Hill. We talked about this in many of the live streams and many other channels I had over the course of 15 plus years. Well, Capitol Hill is based off Capitol Line Hill, the temple of Jupiter. That's all based off of Greek Roman mythology, which in some twisted way try to copy off of Timbuktu and the ancient peoples of Africa. But nevertheless, their temples and their laws reflect back to Roman law. Now you start going into the Vatican, and now we start sweeping into Unam Sanctum, and basically just this, Julius Caesar and the Roman Empire, and the House of Rome, going, whether it's through England, whether it's through the Vatican, all the way here to the United States, and even in some cases, Israel. But nevertheless, the influence that it has is all across Western civilization, as we know, because we live in it. But here's the conundrum. When you, quote unquote, defy the gods, the story was about this man, obviously, Odysseus, who in his army, as they went on a rampage, blowing up Gaza. It wasn't Gaza, but destroying enemies, and whether it was the Greeks or whatnot, is as you were pillaging the land and destroying and waging war, did you not stop to think that maybe you was desecrating the land? Maybe you were in a boat with your army in the ocean and you defied Poseidon, or you destroyed or ate raw meat or cooked and killed innocent animals, and you defied, the Cyclops, which was Zeus' son in Greek mythology and Roman mythology. Now, the greater conundrum in this movie, the way he portrayed it, and from my own philosophical deeper thinking, was people complain because, I don't know, this lady should have been white, but she was black, or this person, was, Asian instead of, white, or whatever the case may be. But the hypocrisy is, isn't that the will of the gods? And if the will of the gods decide to do something, who are you to declare and who are you to debate against it? Could the gods in Greek mythology, could they appear to you in any shape or form? Isn't that the basis of Socrates and Plato and the stranger, for those who understand the philosophies of Aristotle and Herodotus, who study that stuff, like, myself growing up, is that the gods can appear before you in any form. It could be a tree. It could be a blazing inferno. And what you have is people in Western theology and Western culture complaining about the fact that it doesn't fit into what they want or what they like. So they shake their fists at it, because it goes against their, culture. And their culture specifically tells them to bend to the will of the gods, to accept the will of the gods. Apologize for the noise, as my garage is kind of letting up here. But nevertheless, it was funny because a lot of people that was so angry, it was almost like this is the exact reason that destruction fell upon Western civilization, including Rome, was that as they became defiant against the will of the god or the gods, more affliction happened over their society. If the gods told them to refrain from eating meat or killing innocents, you know, the Ten Commandments type stuff, if thou shalt not steal, that you would tell indigenous populations and tell them not to do, but you would do it yourself, and then you wonder why your society or your country is collapsing. The same acceptance that the gods told you. I mean, like, for example, for spoiler alert, but seen in a movie where they maimed the Cyclops because the Cyclops didn't look like them, or they just assumed, that it was an enemy, and the Cyclops was just doing what a Cyclops do. I guess it was just surviving, but it was automatically deemed an enemy. And as Odysseus and his army moved to conquer lands and to destroy things, they did not once take the step back and realize that it was them being the aggressor that are causing destruction across the planet, or across that world, in the concepts of Greek and Roman mythology. And that while you're waging so much war, this is Odysseus in general, you didn't even take the time out to even honor your dead. This is Trump. That why you so maniacal and bent on destruction, you're not even taking this is Greek Western theology, religious theology concepts, that even in your own laws, even in your own doctrine, you're violating your own doctrine. So if you're violating your own doctrine, which is the Bible and the Talmud and these Old Testament and the Ten Commandments and the Constitution, we got all these different laws. When you violate your own law, and if you was to say that your law is based off of Roman and Greek mythology in some cases, Western civilization, then you have violated Roman law. And if you violated Roman law, you have violated the gods, which means your society is destined for destruction. That you will be punished by the gods, i.e. Poseidon, floods, hurricanes, rain, storms. Your lands will be ravaged. You will now find yourself eventually being overtaken, ripped apart, cast asunder, no different than ancient Rome. Now, that's just, not that I personally agree with that theology, but if we're basing it off of their own theology, that is what's going to happen. Because when you look at Western civilization, they are violating their own creed against their own gods. And if one was to play into their own rhetoric, then they're going to be punished. Their gods is going to punish them, no different than the gods punished Odysseus and those guys. I mean, it's really, just me just kind of playing on, the Iliad, and kind of taking it from a, from a deeper, like my own, perspective. Right. So, like, in a sense, we're kind of acting as Troy and, the Spartans. We're kind of like playing both sides. So I kind of, this is the things that I was saying to people, as we were leaving the movie theater, some people that I met, my kids or whatever, and and the people that were complaining that Helen of Troy, should have been a white woman. I'm like, well, Helen of Troy, gods could have made the gods could make Helen of Troy be anything they want. Helen of Troy could be an Asian woman, a black woman, a white woman. It could be a woman with blonde hair and black skin. Isn't that the will of the gods? They couldn't accept that. I said, well, okay, fine. I mean, I guess you need to. I guess you dispute with what the gods did, that your gods created, or what your gods project, or how they project themselves. I guess you have a problem with that. You don't like the fact that the gods could come in this form or that form. You have a problem with that. You want it to be what you want it to be, which is inherently flawed. Your theology is inherently flawed if that's what you believe and that's what you think. So it's not about theology. This is about supremacy. It's not about theology. This is about fictional stories to put yourself at the precipice of society. This is Talmudic concepts of, we are the master race type thinking. So it either contradicts your theology or it shows that you are against the very same thing that you claim to believe. The very same freedom or freedom of speech that you project in your document only applies to certain people and not social media people who are out here talking about the government. The right to bear arms, is in your law, but only applies to military when despotism is swarming your streets with a Gestapo, but not the average, human who has the right to defend themselves because it's inalienable. Make that make sense. So when you start to violate your own laws and the hypocrisy of what you codify, what up, Cuts? When you start to violate the things that you codify, woe unto you. It's not a beef with me. It's not a beef with you guys. That's not our problem. I haven't built my temples to worship Poseidon or to worship the temple of Jupiter like Capitol Hill. I'm not like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and many of them that's out there, building temples to Baalbek or worshiping multiple demons like those who worship the temples of Judaism and Solomon. I'm not building that stuff. These are their philosophy. These are their gods. And if we was to just kind of play into it, as I keep repeating, then what destruction is going to happen to those nations and to those people and to that group who defy the gods? Well, destruction does happen. So a lot of people, was really like, yo, that was pretty, like, we ain't look at it like that. I was like, yeah, it was a mirror reflection. The movie was meant to take a mirror and reflect Western theology against Western theology. Like, okay, Westernized people, how would you feel if I took this story but put a black woman in it, or this story and put an Asian person in it, or took this story and flipped it like this, or flipped it like that, or uh, 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 philosophically showed you how the Spartans of Odysseus, how they violated the land, which they promised that they wouldn't eat the animal, but then when they ate the animal, they all turned to pigs because they violated what the gods told them not to do. But they were so egotistical that they figured, look, we're gonna burn the animal and eat the animal anyway. Okay, well, you're gonna suffer the consequences. What if we take that mirror and flip it? Like, thou shalt not kill, right? I mean, conservative Republicans in politics, they're conservatives and they're Christians and they're Catholics and they're Zionists, and you saying thou shalt not kill, but you out here bombing and killing and murdering and fentanyl and drugs crossing the border. And Obama years ago was doing Fast and Furious. Now you got Trump still in oil, still in rare earth minerals, Epstein files, and we keep going on with these psychopaths, maniacs, perverts. But they're telling you they're conservatives. Same thing with liberal Democrats. Same concept. The same people that's telling you that they're moral is the opposite of morality. But that temples are built to the gods. They're defying the gods. So we are living in extreme Hypocrisy, but then you take the Trojan War and you go within. The title of this live stream. What are you letting in? What are you letting in your own life? A bunch of charlatans who claim to be this and claim to be that, but they're infiltrating your life, your social spectrum, your family, your friendship with people, only to find out when you sleep, they break the horse apart and boom. Now, it is to my, thought that delusion and illusion, but delusion in general is allowed to overtake you or people when you defy, quote unquote, the gods. America in particular is being allowed to collapse, is being allowed to being infiltrated. People like Trump, who comes in and act as a black swan. Trump another example, one of many, but the current example of the Trojan horse. America was allowed to be duped by the gods, maybe, right? And we get on this platform, people like myself and others, and we're trying to wake people up and warn people. My name, Wise Wake Up. Like, we trying to wake up people like, yo, y'all can't see what's happening. Why can't we stop what's happening? Why can't we stop people from seeing that this idiot and many other idiots before him and after him are setting y'all up, setting America to collapse? Gas prices. I looked at the gas the other day. Never seen $7 gas in my life. I was filling gas in the wife's car. And unfortunately, my Mustang, I don't drive a Mustang like I used to, but the Mustang 93 and 100 octane, I got a race tune on it, but my wife, her vehicle 93, I'm like, damn, $7. Haven't seen $7 in my entire life for gas prices. I can imagine I think diesel was probably close to like $9 a gas, maybe $10 for diesel. And we're sitting here saying, why can't people see this? Look what this guy's doing. We talk about the dollar collapse many, many years ago. This guy's causing it to collapse. We talked about the border. You think this guy's protecting you with a border? No, he's keeping you in. If you look at what they're doing, the restrictions they're doing now with passports, they're trying to pass laws to confiscate your passport. The passport is written on there telling you that they can't confiscate your passport. But they're trying to create laws where they can take your passport away from you, to keep you from leaving, to keep you from traveling, to keep you from moving, to keep you here. So when Poseidon, right, when Poseidon strikes the land, nobody can leave. Talk about Dante's Inferno. But you try to sit back and warn people, and you wonder why people are so deluded, why people can't see what we see. We were talking about gematria and the Talmudic agenda that was sweeping through social media influencers and the truther community, whatever you want to call it. We were talking about that years ago, and now you start, hopefully most of y'all are starting to see who are the people like Ben Shapiro and your gematria effect and all these fools out here. Then you start to say, wow, now we see how this was infiltrated, and we've been warning this for 5-6 years before it even happened today. And you say, well, how are these people still relevant? How are these people still in social media promoting systems, isms, religious doctrine that is supremacy doctrine, hypocritical doctrine, murderous doctrine, and then one want to go doctrine that goes against the gods, if you want to play into that logic. Well, just like the Trojan War back in Greek and Rome, it was allowed to happen because the society has gone so far in decadence that Troy, for example, became so lazy, maybe some cases so naive, that they were allowed to be overtaken But here's the flip. But then when they were overtaken by, you know, you know, soldiers, that the Spartans or whatever, or that was allowed to come in and break through the horse, those fools, this is the story of Odiasus and his troops, they went in there and they just destroyed the temples. The Greeks just completely just tore down the statues, and kind of like what they did to the Native Americans, but you know, killed off the Native Americans and savaged the land, and Plymouth Rock landed on, on us and all that, right? And then they built their temple of Jupiter's, and they built their, you took over Troy, but in the process, you destroyed the temples. You bombed Gaza and Lebanon and God knows what else, but you bombed the mosque. You bombed the churches. You killed the innocent, the children. And though maybe Islamic states, and I'm flipping it, right? Maybe Islamic states fell victim to the same level of naivety that Troy failed into, this deep coma. They lost their way in their own teachings, that they were allowed to be bombed by United States and Israel and Saudi Arabia and whatever. But just like Greek, United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia, many of those countries, killing innocent kids, bombing temples, mosques, churches, killing Christians. Are you also violating the will of the gods? So in this story, Troy was conquered by the Greeks, but the Greeks got their own torment, especially the soldiers of Odiasus, because of what they did in their barbaric reaction to the people who were deluded. So who are we? Me, you, us. Let's just hypothetically say we are Troy. We are the deluded, sleep, ignorant masses who is fat, stricken, lazy, and unaware of what our government is and will be doing, and is and has been doing for decades. And nobody seemed to be angry enough to do anything about it. We're also watching our government facilitate genocide at the behest of soldiers who, whether it's for paycheck or for G8 bill or whatever, but they're doing it. Order followers. According to their own religion, we are in for some dangerous, dangerous times. Not so much with what they can do, but what nature, what the gods will do. So there's really no reason, or no, there's really no stretch of the imagination why America is collapsing. Why crime is running rampant in your communities. Why wackos is running the asylum. Why people are losing their minds. Why things are being revealed to those who see politicians being exposed for raping women and sexual assault. Just saw today a representative dropped out another race because he was caught being creepy to women at a bar. Now you start to see the perverse nature of the very same politicians who walk around and act like they honor the gods when they're really just demons in disguise. And because we have allowed, or because we have been so late in our awareness, And people like myself maybe have not done a greater job in speaking louder and speaking more often to awake people up. Maybe a million of us, maybe we all failed. That because we have been so unaware, the asylum has been flooded, poisoned, saturated with daemons or demons or fallen, whatever you want to call them, psychopaths in your organizations, in your districts, in your communities, in your school systems, in your governments, in your military, in your police force, your neighbor, in your family. That this is what you get. This is what you get when you don't be proactive and when you don't say, if I can't get on a street corner with a bullhorn and a billboard, at least I can grab a mic. Grab a mic and speak out. This is what happens when you don't do that, or when you wait too long, or you don't do it enough. And then you want to complain that there's enemies at the gate. Now you want to complain. Who let this horse in? Who let this Trojan horse in our gates? Yo, man, it was a sleep dumbass border patrol agent who's doped up on meth, can't wait to get home to bang his wife at 8 o'clock at night, and he ain't even getting paid enough, so he don't give a shit about the job. He don't care about the job, and so he went to sleep because he was up all night, slapping his vein, shooting up heroin. He had to come to work at 7 o'clock in the morning to patrol the border. He fell asleep, and when he went to sleep, shit, they, quote unquote, the illegal immigrants snuck the horse in. So who do you blame? You blame the immigrants for sneaking a horse in, or you blame maybe you overworking the dude and he couldn't handle it. It was too hard for him. Or maybe he was mad because his taxes was too high in his home community and he felt like he working for pennies. Making $90-some thousand a year to patrol the border. His wife calling him on the phone talking about how the kids need milk. But because of Trump, the same person he's defending the border for and building the wall, milk prices is through the roof. $20 for a case of Enfamil for his newborn. And she I'm just kind of going on this, but she on the phone in his ear screaming and hollering how he need to hurry up and get his ass home because they don't have the power went out because of the storms. Because America's infrastructure is so old and deteriorating that he got to go buy a gas generator because they can't even keep the refrigerator from keeping the food fresh. But he's there patrolling the border, making sure America great again. And while he take that call, a real call, I might add, a very serious call that he need to take, because that's reality. His real reality is feeding his family, taking care of his children. But the stresses of life is beating him down that he got to peel off and answer that call. And when he answered that call, the Trojan horse gets snuck in the gate, gets snuck through the border. Who do you blame? You blame the immigrant storm in Spain or whatever psyop that was, or you blaming your government? Do you blame the individual who didn't have his gun open to shoot the immigrants as they ran across the border? Who do you blame? How far does it go? But then back to the Nolan philosophy of how I think. You say, well, maybe the guy that answered the phone because his wife called, maybe it was meant for him to answer the phone to get him distracted because it's the will of the gods. It was the will of the gods for them to be distracted, to peel off, to let the gate. That's the delusion. The delusion is meant to take place. We were meant to be infiltrated with gematria communities, deluding people, taking your attention away from the issues and focusing your attention on the newest NFL superstar, the LeBron James trade to Philadelphia, and how important that is to your numbers because you can make it rich. It's meant to divert you and put you into gluttony, wine bibbing, gambling, the very same things that the Bible speaks against. But a bunch of truthers are doing it. Are they violating the will of the gods? And if they are, according to Western theology, according to the very same religions, the esoteric Kabbalistic systems that they worship, you are violating your own book, your own Talmudic, Old Testament, Torah, New Testament, evangelical scripture. You are violating it. Let me get away from you because you are violating your own God. And if we was to play your stuff literally and speak literally, speak your language, your temple, your capital line heel of Jupiter, and your skull and bones, black robe judicial system based off in Rome and Greek culture will collapse, will fall. And tragic, it will be a Homer tragedy. It will be the new tragedy that will play out because you desecrated your own land. You pissed in your own coffee. How you piss in your own coffee? A person who was never real in the first place. That's who. A person that never had the truth in them. A group of people, an entity, a race, a culture, a organism that never had the truth in them, that infiltrated. And when the people, like me and you, the real people, finally realize that we've been infiltrated, it'll be too late. When we finally realize that the temples and the buildings and the houses and the economies and the armies and the nations is burning around you before you know it, you're going to sit back and say, damn, we was tricked. Damn, we was tricked. It's not right now. It's not the right time. And it's not the time for people to see just how deluded they were by the Trump administration or the MAGA communities. The militia people that I knew, most of them was like, yo, we were duped. It's too late. Most of y'all got locked up. Most of y'all got your rights taken away from you. Most of y'all got doxxed, XYZ, just saying, by the government. Because this guy had you to do this, had you to gaslit you into doing something that you knew in your heart it wasn't right, but you did it because you fell with the in crowd. You were swept into the herd mentality. So just like Troy, people running underground tunnels to try to escape Troy because the kids were getting killed by the Greek Spartans. The people of Troy was wondering who the hell, who let these fools in? How did they get in our cities? How did they get in our communities? Your own government let them in, stupid. Your own government, the government of Troy, so decadent, so ignorant, so hypocritical. They let them in, whether purposely or ignorantly. And then when when the Greeks got their punishment, I mean, both groups got punished. That's the conundrum of Homer's Iliad. Is both of them suffered consequences because I guess maybe people should live in peace. People shouldn't go to war with each other. So they both suffer the consequences of their actions. One for being unaware and ignorant, the other one for being barbaric and unforgiving. Oh wow, what a story! What a story. And then the mirror reflection comes, the modern day reflection, the modern day mirror reflection comes when modern day Roman Western civilized people on YouTube, many other, and even in the movie theaters, shake their fists at the screen and it says, this movie sucks. This story sucks because it doesn't have a white face acting as Helen, and even Elon Musk. We're gonna remake the movie and we're gonna remake it to look like MAGA. You're gonna remake it. You're gonna remake what? According to the rest of it, you're gonna remake the story of the philosophical story of the gods. You're gonna remake it because you don't like it. Is that what you do? You're gonna remake the will of the gods because you don't like the will that they chose that doesn't fit your perception of reality. Okay, no wonder why America is falling. No wonder why Britain and these Western civilizations are collapsing morally, educationally, spiritually, consciously. No wonder they are a lower vibrated people. Yeah, makes a lot of sense now. So what do? We try to get as far away from it as we can, spiritually, physically, if you can, emotionally, economically, consciously. Not being unaware or being in knowledgeable of what's happening, but becoming it has a word, accepting what I don't like it. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like it. Trust me, I don't like it, but accepting that this is the karma effect of decadence and gluttony and just a lost civilization, not just here in America, but worldwide. A civilization that has been built on demonic murder of whites, blacks, Native Americans, Asian, just a savage Greek Spartan army, and unfortunately the American military, they kind of embody that Spartan attitude. Yeah, don't get me wrong, we like 300, we kind of like the story of the Spartans and that whole thing, but damn, they were they were pretty barbaric and unforgiving. Kind of like what's happening now in Iran. Trump gets on there, he's gonna bomb the shit out of them. We're gonna end their civilization. We're gonna bomb them to the Stone Ages. This is your intellectual statesman, according to like Greek. Greek, they use the word statesman, or your sophist. This is your statesman with a drumstick in his hand, a glass of wine and jewelry and gold in his damn Mar-a-Lago, fat ass belly, orange ass skin, swollen eyeballs, blonde, faded out, dying out hair. And he said, we're going to bomb this shit out of them. We're going to take their shit. Burp, burp, burp. Like a big fucking toad. A fat frog. And many of them, I'm just using him, but there's a lot of them I can describe as equally, but just using him because he's the obvious that's out there right now in the political spectrum. I don't give a shit if it was Obama. I'd be saying the same shit. Maybe, you know, call him a tall, big-eyed, black, fucking skinny ass, fucking pimp looking ass dude. Hey, what up, y'all? What up, people? What up, folk? What up, my brothers? My brother? Same shit. We're gonna bomb, man. Hey, yo, we're gonna bomb the shit out of these fucking fools. That's what Trump, that's what Obama would be saying, right? That's his fucking, his style, right? But regardless, these are your statesmen, and the truth and the true face, the mask of who they really are, is starting to show. It's not fully shown yet, but when we get those troops, if pray we don't, we get these troops storming our streets, martial law in effect. We may have a couple of minutes or a couple of days to jump on YouTube and talk about it, and everybody's gonna say, "Woe to us!" Everybody be on YouTube, and I'll probably be saying the same thing. Well, maybe not, but just hypothetically, I'll be saying, "Holy shit! My local community. Where's my local law enforcement? Where's the local police? Why did the local police allow these fools to come into our communities with tanks and MRAPs and snatching people out their homes, killing the men and raping the women?" Hypothetically, you'd be sitting back saying, how is your local law enforcement, state troopers, etc., allowing federal military governments to take over your communities and rip you out of your homes, taking quarter in your bedroom where your kids sleep? And the answer is because they let them in. They let them. You mean to tell me they let the United Nations and the globalists, the local state officials allowed them to shut you down because of COVID? If they would have kicked in everybody's doors and stuck a needle in every one of our asses, your local law enforcement didn't stop and protect your rights, defend your rights. Nobody advocated for your rights and your children's rights. And they allowed these federal agents, Operation Warp Speed, to come into your community and stick a needle in your ass. Yeah, they let them in. And when stuff like that finally becomes obvious to the American population, I pray it's not too late. But at that moment, that's when you're going to realize just how deceived we've all been. Until you see those gematria people, and you will probably see it in the next couple of years, living somewhere in Israel with a mansion, like, just using like Ben Shapiro goofy ass, that fool in the next 10 years, you may see him on YouTube. This dude may have Maseratis and God knows what else, and in a mansion in Tel Aviv, or Israel some damn way, or some third temple regional society that they didn't expand and built from the river to the sea. At that point, you're gonna sit back and say, "Holy shit! All this time, this guy was a Mossad op, never gave a shit about America. Actually, was working to destroy it from within, Trojan horse type tactics. Got his pay, got his due. America's no longer worth being pimped out because, the whore of Babylon, she's been screwed so many times that and raped so many times. She now just a 70-year-old baggy, saggy ass prostitute. They left. Nothing else to goose. The goose is cooked. Well, they can, but you catch my point, right? Because you catch my point. I'm just hypothetically speaking, but you catch my point, right? And you start to see all these people migrating, including Trump and his family. Mark my words. The biggest trap and the biggest trick and the biggest deception for your MAGA president, the one who hugs the flag and says that he loves it, the greatest twist of humor, Trump's entire family is gonna leave America. They're gonna move to Israel. They're gonna move to the Netherlands or Switzerland. They're gonna leave. They're gonna leave. You heard it here first. I'm telling you right now. I already know. Trust me. I already know. His family is not gonna live here. They're leaving. They're gonna flee. Now, when that's gonna happen, that could happen after this election. That could happen during the course of his impeachment and possible arrest, along with him and his family, for grifting and God knows what other crimes against humanity they've created, including the genocide, which is a real deal in international courts, no different than COVID, crimes against humanity. They're going to flee. And when they flee, people are going to see just this is how much he loved America. This is how much he loved America. They loved America so much that when the will of the gods, when the will of the gods spoke, they fled. When the people, the same, voting system that he loves and he talks about fixing, when that same fixed voting system votes him and his family as criminals, in the cover of darkness, they're going to flee. They're going to go rogue and they're going to leave if he doesn't create martial law or attempt to uh, 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 suspend the elections. And unfortunately, that's what America needs to see. That's what the people, Democrat, white, black, red, yellow, unfortunately, that's what we need to see. You need to see just how deceived we were. And Troy has to burn. And Troy will burn. America possibly being Troy. So yeah, a lot's been going on with me. We had bad storms here in the Chicagoland area. most people were out power for almost a week, um, and it really, well, a couple of things. One, community came together. People come together in very tragic or traumatic times. And at the end of the day, whether you black, white, red or yellow, it don't mean nothing, because white brothers and sisters was out here helping black brothers and sisters, helping Latino, helping Asian brothers and sisters. We all was out here, cutting up trees, pulling branches. Um, you know, I got a couple of white brothers and stuff that I have over here. Hey man, y'all need to plug in and charge up your devices. If your family don't have any power, y'all can come over here, just to kind of cool off and chill, until 7, 8 o'clock, because they got little kids. So everybody come together and everybody was helping each other out during this time. And you know that's reality. That's what it's all about when it comes to the bigger picture between us versus these psychopathic governments. And you can only imagine at times 100 what's happening in Gaza, in these areas, and even whether Russia or even Ukraine. At the end of the day, the people suffer the most. Government's gonna do what governments do. Military's gonna do what militaries do. They're gonna duke it out, fight, destroy their own temples, shoot each other in the head, bomb each other's defense facilities, and all this other goofy shit. But the damage hurts when it's the schools that get blown up, or the hospitals, the mentally, physically disabled, impaired people who can't leave the communities because they're in a wheelchair, or they may have, you know, you know, physical, ailments. They die because the governments lack mercy, unrelenting, unforgivable barbarity. And that's when real people sit back and say, then quote unquote, let God deal with them. Let the gods do need to deal with them. The only thing that's going to mostly bring these governments down is not so much people revolting and doing a revolution, which does and can help. I'm not saying it doesn't, because it happens over the course of America's society and many other civilizations. But a lot of times you need spiritual intervention to give wisdom to officials, people who can be natural leaders because they care, and because they make the right decisions, and because they truly want to help. So, but I wanted to come on here, for at least an hour, and just kind of check in with you guys. This is Wise Wake Up the Unknown, and I'm still around. I'm still doing my thing. Um, I want to do something a little different. Kind of sit outside. So sorry for the background noise, but it's kind of raining, so I wanted to at least sit out here and get some good energy here. But other than that, I kind of started to harden my preps a little bit more. I actually started to realize the importance of propane. I do gas so much, like everything with generators and gas. But um, I started to realize the importance of propane, gas, and some of the tools and some of the things that I got. So it does put you in retrospect when you have disasters in your community or in your area. You're like, wow, that don't work, and that does work, and maybe I need to get more of that. You kind of reanalyze your setup, and I definitely reanalyze mines, and things that I thought were practical and will work for me in a survival situation didn't perform as good as I thought, and that's a little bit of my fault. I should have did more testing. But no test. The best test is an actual real world situation. We could do mock tests and mock demos and mock lab and until something really, really happens, is you're gonna really, really know how you respond to it. How do you respond to loss, the death of a loved one? How do you respond to a natural disaster, or the gods punishing the people? How do you respond to that? We got a lot of flooding over here, so a lot of cars, man, are like stuck. You know, engines are you know sucked in too much water, and so you get a certain vehicle. you know, you're like, yo, I'm kind of glad I got that vehicle. Or, like me, I got a couple of vehicles, but my Jeep, for example, I kind of got it rigged up. I'm like, man, like I need to, okay, cool, lift kit, all that good stuff. Like, okay, let me harden the Jeep so I can, I mean, it ain't the fastest car in the world, but it can go places that other people can't. Jeep could go, Jeep and, what is a Bronco or whatever, like it could, off road, it could go places that those other people can't go. I don't need to go 80, 90, 100 miles an hour, because what's the point of going 90, 100 miles an hour and your ass can't drive over a curb? I'm just saying, you can't drive through a backyard and climb up some rocks to get yourself, to the other side of the street. What good is that? But we definitely have to get back to understanding what is to come. And once you can think of it two ways. You can look at it like, okay, if you want to think on their religious spectrum and play it literally, then this is what's going to happen. But then you can turn around and be on the spiritual side of things. Like, look, man, I don't believe all this religious mumbo jumbo stuff. Okay, so let's think consciously, spiritually. Nature is going to recorrect what was done wrong on the land, in the universe, in the atmosphere. You plug the atmosphere with so much HARP, EMF frequencies, messing with Mother Earth. You're causing her all these different labor pains, and speaking parable wise, giving Mother Earth a miscarriage. You fracking in the earth, trying to extract oil. You bombing mountains and blowing up villages and killing kids and tearing down trees, and then not to mention our animal kingdom. You're killing animals and submarines in the ocean, poison in the ocean, killing dolphins and whales and fish and shark and all types of organisms that live in the deep blue. Oh, there's a lot of people that got beef with y'all. Not just us humans. There's a lot of other things, a lot of species that have beef with what you guys have done. There's a movie actually where I can't think of this movie, but the name of it. But there's a movie where at some point in time, the trees even went against humans because of what was done on Earth. The trees, in some weird way, stopped giving out chlorophyll or adenosine triphosphate. The trees stopped giving off oxygen as a form of rebellion against what was happening on Earth, which robbed humans of clean air. And then the trees started to give out, instead of giving out oxygen, they started to release toxins into the atmosphere, which killed off, I forgot the name of the movie, The Happening. I think it was, the movie's called The Happening. I think it was The Happening. Yeah, it was like The Happening. And people couldn't believe it. You do so much with nature and you think that nature doesn't know, that nature is not sentient. I do strongly believe that nature is conscious. Trees, grass, bugs, air, all these things are conscious. They live in a realm, they live in this existence in this realm just like you. and you go against the air, you sin against the tree, you sin against these things, then you may have to deal with the will of the gods, right? So but I get on here and I try to share my thoughts a little bit. Hopefully, shake a little bit of your thoughts about things as you're moving around today. Today, I think I'm gonna go to the store as always. Maybe pick up um, some rice, just extra food and just things because you got micro disasters and then you have macro disasters. You have disasters that happen that affect you right at this level, and you got things that can happen at the bigger level that trickles down to us. And at the end of the day, man, it's all about how far you want to survive. How much do you want to survive? How much do you value your your role, your spiritual role, your physical role in this existence? That your physical and spiritual autonomy is your responsibility in this existence. Like nobody else should be intervening like the Vatican, like the Unam Sanctum. Nobody else should be intervening or intervene into your existence and your connection between you and the source. Who has the authority other than the source to come to you and say, "Hey, today I'm going to take you out of this existence. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to murder you. I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to make life hard for you." Who has the psychological authority to destroy you? To tell you when it's time to go, to tell you when it's time to lay down and retire and roll over and die. You choose your life. You choose how you live. You choose what hill you choose to die on, as they say. Not the government, not you know the megalomaniacs. And when you start taking life in your own hands, your life in your own hands, your existence, your survival in your own hands, then you lose fear. You lose uh cowardness or cowardice. You're able to speak up and say, "I don't give a shit about what the government bring the troops in here. Bring, man, you arrest me, you can censor my channel. That ain't gonna stop me from ever speaking out against the beast. That's not gonna ever stop me from calling things out the way I see it, whether you Democrat, Republican, MAGA, woke, uh, uh, LGBT, LMNOQ, fake conservative, Alabama, raping little kids, and Jeffrey Epstein. I'm gonna call you out regardless because I don't care about alliances politically or religiously or racially. I love all things and I would call all things out neutrally, regardless of who you are. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's hypocritical, it's hypocritical. If you're a fool, you're a fool. And in this year, this time in the month, the white conservative Christian Zionists, MAGA Republicans are the fools. 8 or 10 so years ago, it was the black Democrat Obama loving fools. Same shit, different script. Different script. What else been going on with your boy? Let's see before I get ready to get out of here. Not much. That movie. I think that was like kind of fun, kind of interesting to see. Had the little natural disaster here. Not much, man. I just been just staying on my P's and Q's, really, just watching what's going on and um not much on social media really to comment on other than what I already mentioned. But I think with this channel here, I'm gonna it's going to take a like I told you guys the last live stream, over a month ago. It's going to take a much serious tone, obviously, because we are getting older, and one of the things is this is going to be my last little uh, stretch of thought is the movie, the movie It. If you guys ever grew up watching that movie It with the clown, in that movie It, these kids, they come across this, Georgie, they come across this clown in a sewer that has, haunted them and stalked them ever since they were kids. But these kids, as the movie years go by, these kids, they get older, they become adults in their 40s, 50s. And guess what? That It clown still continues to haunt them, or is still there. We, all you guys who listen to me, we all gonna change. We're gonna get older, obviously. You guys know this. A lot of us have moved on. Um, you know, this truthing thing. A lot of us been on here for years, and some of us like, yo, man, that's it. I think I was listening to right a couple of weeks, days ago, whatever it was. A lot of people are ready to move on, tap out. Yo, like I'm done doing this, man. It's time to move on to different things. And I've done it. I've always keep multiple portfolios of this stuff. I don't just do social media. I do other ways of communicating as well. So I can move back and forth. But some people just want to totally be like, look, man, I'm done, man. I'm going to travel the world and off road and just go camping and just be off the grid, just get away from it. The the beast, or simply the demon, doesn't age. This thing that we fight against doesn't get old. It's not gonna die. It's not gonna uh, uh, get gray hair and get cancer or obesity or diabetes or whatever diseases that like we do. We're gonna get old. Our bones are gonna get frail. My voice is gonna change. My brain, my body. I'm not gonna have the energy to do videos for 2-3 hours every single day. Uh, uh, all of us at one point we're gonna be old, weary, laying in our beds. And when that time happened, as weird as it sounds for those who listen to me, I'm speaking from my heart. When you lay in your deathbed, that time that when we all leave this existence and we age out, that same clown will still be here. And that same clown don't age. If you know the movie, that clown looked the same as it did back in the early 90s. And that clown will be here for your children and your grandchildren and your little nieces and nephews. That clown will be here. And if that clown or if that demon has beef with you now, and right now we're winning, quote unquote, right? We're on social media, we're speaking out against it, we're energized, we're moving around, we're doing all this stuff, we're communicating on YouTube, we're talking, yeah, everybody, look, let's, yeah, we know how to, combat it and prepping and doing all this other stuff, surviving. That demon will wait, will wait, and will wait, will wait, will wait, and it will wait for the right opportunity. It's been around a long, long time, y'all. This beast has been around a long time. Matter of fact, it's been around since the beginning of time. It has all the time in the world to wait for you. It has all the time in the world to wait to trap you, to wait to get you, to wait to destroy you. It will wait. It may not get you now in your 40s or in your 20s and you're a social media influencer and you got, 2 million followers and you think you're just Joe Rogan, you're just out there just giving. That beast will wait until you're 80. And when you're 80 years old, you done packed up truth in a long time ago. Your calculator don't even work no more. You done push so many damn buttons on that calculator. You done broke all the calculator buttons, right? Because you done hit the button so hard, the calculator button don't even work no more. You done broke the button. Matter of fact, they done moved on from calculators. The AI and took over the math. The AI took over the math. You don't even have a job no more. You can't even push the buttons no more. Fingers too damn old to push the button. and you pack it all up. You say, I'm done, man. I'm too old to do this. I'm done, truth, and I'm done with all this government speaking out, spirituality, conscious, whatever you want to call it. I'm done with this stuff. I just want to just retire old age and just yeah, penny code. Penny code. Hey dude, that's funny. I like that. Penny code, the calculator clown. You feel me? That's what I'm saying. Like, and they, that's good, cuz. That was a really, really good one. That was the funniest shit you posted in a long time. Oh, yeah, the penny code clown shows up, and you're on your bed, your deathbed, and the clown shows up. He's coming. He's coming. He still got beef with you though because you got old. Because you got old and thought that the battle was over with, and think that you didn't that you didn't that you didn't reap what you sow. He'll show up. Oh wow, that's good stuff, dude. I gotta check it out. Oh man, but we have to keep in mind that the beast may not show his face to you now, and some of us has already did. Like it showed his face to me, so I already know. You know, me and the beast. We. There's a little bit of a respect that it has for me. I already told y'all this plenty of times. It owes me. The beast, whatever you want to call it, the devil, the demon, Satan, whatever. It owes me a lot, and I got a debt to collect from that. So most people, it's the other way around. You sold your soul, and you got to now give the beast something because the beast, did something stupid and bargained away something. So now you got to pay a debt. Well, to me, it's the opposite with me. The beast owes me. The devil, the demon, the Satan, whatever you want to call it, it owes me. So I'm out here looking for. I'm out here looking for him or it, whatever you want. The it clown. I'm out here looking for the it clown. It's running from. It's scared. It's running from me. I'm in the sewer looking for him, looking for the boat, the little paper boat. I'm doing the paper boat, setting his ass up or its ass up. I'm looking for hey, where you at, man? You owe me money, man. You owe me some money, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey man, you owe me, dude. Where you at? I ain't seen him in years. I ain't seen him in 30 something. I was 30 something years, man. You owe me, man. So if you don't come around, okay, cool. I'll let you. I'll let you. Just don't. Just. For those who know, they feel me on that conversation. But you have to be just prepared because that battle will come from us. That battle, that retaliation will come for us sooner or later. Because you take a break or you step away or because you decide that you don't want to do this no more or because you may feel like you ain't getting enough subs or you ain't getting enough views and God knows I know that don't mean you're not making a difference. Number one, doesn't mean that your energy that you putting out is not causing a disturbance in the atmosphere. Number two, and it doesn't mean that the beasts don't have real beef with you, which is the reason probably why you're suffering from a lot of different uh, issues in social media when it comes to notoriety. And I don't look for fame. So the fact that I do get low amount of subscribers or a low count or low this or low that in this space, that's a good thing. Because that actually, you have to think opposite. It's introverted. Fame on social media mean the beast loves you, in my opinion. Fame on social, fame in general, fame, that whole thing, fame. Fame means you bargained. You bargained something. I don't want fame and I don't need fame and I can care less about fame. I'm the guy who rocked the hoodie. You'll catch me in a far remote corner of the earth. If you are on that level, you might see me, you might find me, you might catch me. If you don't catch me, and that's that. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to be retaliated against. That doesn't mean that we are being retaliated against or aren't being retaliated against. I look at it like we're on the radar. The reason why we're suffering so much, the reason why we feel isolated and we don't get the attention, the fame, is because they don't want us to have the attention or the fame, and we are a problem. Me getting out on here and talking about the Judaic Talmudic agenda and how the truth of community was infiltrated. Ever since I started communicating about that to y'all, my channel has taken a hit. I can see the nosedive. They even give you the metrics. I was up there. Next thing you know, whew, I'm like, okay, yeah. Somebody wanted me to keep quiet. Somebody didn't want me to bring that up. They don't like when I talk about the Zionist agenda and the Talmudic sorcery that has a grip over not just the black community, but the white community. Oh, they don't like that. The biblical prophecy that most of these truther channels was promoting and actually helping to bring into fruition. Oh boy, they hated that. So the beast, the beast got his targets on us. So keep your eyes on just things that's going on worldwide, man. These crazy people, they're gonna try to kill more innocent people. And people say, oh, it's a psyop. I don't give a shit about the government. So I don't give a shit about what local CNN and Fox News and all these. Like, no, get away from that, man. You got to go outside America to get the news. And when you get the news and when you start hearing it from their culture, you can't speak Arabic, you can't speak, these different languages and things like that, Chinese or Mandarin. You can't speak Mandarin. You can't speak these languages. They'll tell you the facts. You can put it into a translator, and whether it's an article or your browser can do it. Just click translate it to English, and when you translate it, you will get the facts, and you say, okay, this is what's really going on. How many U.S. troops are really killed? Is it 17, 18, 20, or is it thousands? Now think about what I said earlier about Odysseus. Odysseus went to hell in the movie, for those who saw it, and the complaint from his own soldiers. This is deeper than hell. Like your own dead men who served under you to go destroy lives and even violate the will of the gods when they were murdered. You didn't even honor them. It's like Trump sending soldiers to die and for his Bush war, whatever you want to call it, oil, whatever, and he don't even mention their names. He don't even go visit the families. We don't even know who they are, what they did, who they were before they served, what effect they had on their communities, and the kids that they might have had. You don't even know who they are. He's not even honoring the dead. If it's thousands of soldiers, how many are injured because of this psychopath's fetish for war and murder and destruction? Hey, Kim Trail, all good. And Stephanie, what's up? Yep. But that's the same scenario. When you go against the will of the God, the will, according to their theology, tells you to honor your dead, bury your dead, have, I don't know, let's just hypothetically, 7 days of mourning where there is no war, everything stops. But you so fixed on war, you can't stop. But let me flip it. Look what Iranians did when they killed the Ayatollah Khomeini. They stopped. They had a funeral. They ceased all all bombing or whatever that they were doing, as far as retaliation. They was like, look, we're gonna chill. We gotta honor the dead. We gotta bury the dead. We gotta go through our process, whether we agree with it religiously or not. That's their religion. Hey, I respect people who play, who want to play into their religion. Okay, that's your thing. That's your religion. You do what your religion say. Let me see how honorable you are if you can uphold the own laws that you write. If you can't uphold your own laws, you as dirty as dirt. If you can't honor your own law, respect your own constitution, practice what you preach, as we used to say. At least the Iranians, they practice what they preach. It's like, look, we could keep bombing the bases, but we got death, so we gotta go through the through the proper burial, the proper ceremony, the proper day of mourning, 7 days, whatever, whatever. United States was like, man, shit, we got thousands of U.S. soldiers dying. You still bombing while the caskets are being flown back to the air base. Are you violating the will of the gods? Yes, you are. Apollo, Zeus, Helen, Poseidon, Jupiter, you know, Thor. You go with their mythology. You build a temple, Capitol Hill Temple of Jupiter, the scales of Juno. Well, the scales of Juno was about balance, right? About balance, justice and law and peace and fairness. The scales of Juno. What happens when you upset the scales of Juno, where it's too much violence and not enough forgiveness and not enough, just? Is this war? Is what's happening to us in society? Is it just? How much toxins can you put into the atmosphere using EMF frequencies and HARP and radiation and toxins that you upset the atmosphere where there's more thunderstorms, more tornadoes than normal in areas that you shouldn't really see tornado because you guys are tweaking things too much because you're trying to weather manipulation. How much are you upsetting the scales of Juno? A lot. Climate change and that entire psyop of globalism is you injecting things into the atmosphere to upset the atmosphere, to bring about a condition of sustainable development, to depopulate the earth. Is that upsetting Juno? You tearing up trees to build mansions for rich billionaire oligarchs that write laws to restrict people's freedom. Is that upsetting the scales of Juno? Destroying nature so much to prop up the rich, the wealthy, the Elon Musk and Peter Thiels and all these technocrats. At what point is AI is going to become so used so much, and even in social media, everybody's using AI. I don't use that shit, and I know more about it than 90% of the people out here talking about it. 90% of the people out here that's using it, talking about it, I know more about it than them. And they're using it so much. Is that upsetting the scales of Juno? Human AI, you use it so much that now you've upset the balance. Is that going against the will of the gods? So Skynet, right? That whole concept of Skynet, is that the karma when scales of Juno in their own theology gets upsetted? Yeah, exactly, Kim. Terraforming this so much to what punishment? Well, Western theology wise, according to like I was telling you about the Odyssey movie and Greek mythology and Roman mythology, it is upsetting the gods. So you will have communities devastated, natural disasters, diverse places, random weird occurrences. I don't know, a tornado hitting a major downtown area. Like, what the hell? Tornadoes in downtown Chicago? 20 tornadoes hit downtown Chicago, rip up high rises. Is that possible? Mass flooding, kind of like a pole reversal type scenario where continents, kind of like what happened in Atlantis or Lemuria, coastal lines wiped away. You're like, yo, okay, either this is man-made or this is some fools messing with some weapons deep beneath the ocean. Regardless, is this, are we being punished by the gods? Right? I keep going back to that because I'm trying to drill that into your psyche. And those who haven't seen that movie and you watch it simply, you're gonna be like, oh man, this is nothing. But if you watch it deeply, like what I'm saying, you're gonna be like, dude, this movie was they were talking about some deeper shit. And these fools are so brain dead. The Western society is so brain dead. 90% of them missed it, which exactly proves the point. Which proves the exact point that they missed it. They missed the point. And I'm sitting here telling y'all, and most of y'all that have seen it, I'm like, that's the point, you idiot. The fact that you missed it is the fact that this is happening because you missed it. The fact that you preach your theology and violate your theology in the process is the reason why we in the process of going through a collapse. Because you lost your way, and you can't see that you lost your way because you're so deluded. Your brain is so deluded and so clouded, you don't see it. You don't understand it. The truth community is so populated with liars and thieves and grifters and scoundrels is because the truth community itself don't see it. Because people like myself and others are so minimized and so squeezed down and so blocked out and so toned out that this is why. That Joe Rogan and these clowns, Ben Shapiro, these Alex Jones, these fools who have been leading you into whatever new fad that they want, leading your community, the dumber community, is continue to lead you into that Trojan War, to bring that Troy situation to happen. The reason why America is collapsing is because America is being led by a false biblical prophecy that they control, a narrative that they control, and got you thinking, go Joe, MAGA, let's go fight. Let's get them. G.I. Joe. And the dude, and like I said, like I said, Odias is going back into the Greek. As he was leading his soldiers, they were savaging lands, and the oracles was warning Odysseus. I keep saying Odias. I'm sorry, I've been butchering his name. Odysseus. All this time, I'm trying to catch myself. I've been butchering his name. Odysseus. The oracles have been warning Odysseus, like, yo, we're not gonna tell your troops, but we're gonna tell you because you're the general, you the head guy. You're gonna lose half of your soldiers before this is over with. You didn't went to remote islands and fought against titans. You didn't kill cyclopses. You didn't fought against all types of beasts. You lost your family has lost that way. You stranded at sea. You're not gonna be able to find your way back home. You're gonna lose everything you fought for because of your drunken lust. The only way this can be averted if your soldiers correct themselves and fall back in line with the will of the gods. So Odysseus, he was telling his soldiers, like, yo, y'all got to stop doing this. Like, don't do that. They were like, all right, we promise we ain't going to do it. Okay, cool. The gods speak to you. Why are they not speaking to us? But okay, fine, we'll do it. And then when he go to sleep, they'd do it. They'd do something stupid. He's like, man, y'all screwed up, man. I told y'all not to do that, man. I told y'all we needed to stop. Well, we couldn't help ourselves. We soldiers, right? We Spartans. We you know what I'm saying? Agamemnon, for those who don't know the story about Agamemnon, like, he was a great military leader. He lost his life. He didn't lose his life in battle, lost his life because of shit at home. But Agamemnon was like, yo. So, cut a long story short, so he goes to hell. Odysseus goes to hell, and his soldiers was like, yo, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you? Now we stuck here. We hate you. We fought for you. We died for you. We died for you, Trump. We bombed cities for you, Trump. We did it for America. For America. Yeah, America. Go America. We did it for America, right? We did it to protect the borders, right? We did it because we thought we were doing something good, right? No, it was a lie. It was a lie just to get your ass to go do it. So he hid behind a false morality to make you think you were doing something just, that your enemy is the Islamic, the Arabic people or the people of Iran. Iran ain't never done shit to me. What did Iranians do? What did Iranians do to you? Whether you live in Chicago, New York, or any other way, tell one of y'all in the chat right now. Tell me what a damn Iranian did to you. What did a Chinese person do to you? What did a Russian? I'm almost 50 years old. What a fucking Russian do to me in my life? I don't even think I met a Russian. I met a couple of Russians. When I used to work, downtown Chicago. I never met a Russian that did something bad to me in my life that'd make me say, "Hey, man, let's go get Ukrainians to bomb them and shoot drones over there. Let's see if we can destroy Russia with nuclear weapons or atomic weapons or hydrogen weapons, whatever fucking weapon they got." Nothing. Exactly, exorcism. I have to be a boogeyman. This is Kavanaugh. This is 1984, right? This is your Oceania and all your different cities. They're the bombers, and so now the cities want to go to war and all that, right? They even pumped in the movie or the book 1984 Orwell. They pumped sound effect into the atmosphere that sound like planes and bombs just to seed fear in the community, and then showed up and say, "See, this is why we gotta get the guns. This is why we gotta go kill the Russians. We gotta go kill the people. You hear the bombs." This is how far they went just to get you to go against the will of the gods, right? I'm just using that to go against the gods. But eventually, just like that movie with Nolan, you can't escape it. And people like myself and many of you out here, we've gotten messages, and I hate to use the word oracle, but we've gotten messages from oracle-like people, spiritual visitors, friends, I like to call them, that have warned us, hey, this is going to affect your community, this is going to affect your civilization, but I'm putting people in your life, putting videos, podcasters, certain truthers that you may be okay with who are not out there grifting per se. I'm putting certain information in your life that can save you, and I'm warning you, don't fall victim to the same thing that these other people are falling victim to, or you too shall perish like them when the time comes. Don't do what they do. That's an old Root song I used to love back in the 90s, early 2000s. Never do what they do. Never do what they do. Because once you start doing what they do and missing the lessons, when the catastrophe and the tumultuous times happen, you will be drastically affected like them while they're screaming for their lives. And in that story, Odysseus, all his men he lost. And as they were dying, as they were drowning by the cyclone, the hurricane of Poseidon and all the different gods that was throwing tragedy at these soldiers, they all screamed, "And Odysseus, save us! Please beg to your God to save us!" He was like, I can't intervene on that, man. Like I try to tell y'all shouldn't have been doing that. Y'all shouldn't have did that. Y'all destroyed the temples, man. Like, and Odysseus had his own battle he had to deal with because of what he commanded them to do. But it was a lesson for him. Like, look, you cost a lot of lives, and you led a lot of people down the wrong path, and you have did some horrible things on this earth, and I'm gonna devastate your might, your power, America's egotistical might. I'm gonna bring you down to third world country status just to show you ain't shit. You ain't shit. But I'm gonna save your ass. I'm gonna save Trump. I'm gonna save your goofy ass. But I'm gonna destroy millions, billions of people. But I'm going to save your goofy ass Trump just to prove a point to the people who are around. That this is what's happened when you follow a fool. And that fool leads you to your death because he puts himself up as some type of Moshiach wannabe, higher than God status type person. He's nothing but a fat toad billionaire who was, we'll get into that some other time about his family. But I'm going to save you. But I'm going to destroy your sons, your daughters, your temples, your allies, your country, your wall, all these, your gold, your money. I'm going to bankrupt this country. This shit is going to be like a third world country. But I'm going to keep Trump just to prove a point, because now the survivors can look back at this, Odysseus, this fake ass Odysseus. And we look at Odysseus / Trump and say, yo, man, you're the reason why I have $8 fucking gas prices. You're the reason why the gods are punishing us. Because you lied, because you're on some ego trip. You're the reason why the kids can't go to school. The food prices are through the roof. Children are murdered. Disaster are around us. Epstein is still raping kids somewhere on some remote island because he's not dead. It all because of some temple, some idolatry demon temple y'all trying to build in some country that never existed by some people who stole identities of other people. Look what this is Agamemnon. This is what his soldier was saying. This is what you did, dude. You cost me our lives. You caused trials and tribulations. This is what may the Trump seed be cursed from here to eternity. This is how the Greek mythology was doing. This is how the torment. May the seed of Trump be cursed for eternity. This is how angry they was. That you sent me to hell. You caused me to go to hell because you was my commander. I thought you knew better. And you lied and you tricked us, your own soldiers, to go over there and destroy cultures, ancient civilizations that have been around longer than America, customs, religions, temples, gods, ancient monuments. Then we start getting into earth ley lines, certain positions on earth that is more connected to the root chakra of earth compared to other areas of earth. You destroying. I'll go even deeper with y'all from geology. The plate tectonic system of this planet is connected. It's like a gong. If you hit it on one side, the vibration will affect other areas of the continent, because Earth is a living chakra, right? Chakras all the way from Antarctica all the way through, and the zero degree equator being central to Earth is the heart. This is why Africa is the bedrock of civilization, because it is at the center. It is the bedrock of all civilization, whether you like it or not, whether you white, black. Hey, man, the facts are the facts. The facts are the facts. You don't like the facts, then you're going against the will of the gods. Don't get mad at me. Go against the will of the gods. But the center is where all life permeates. This is why all the ocean creatures, they all flock to different areas around the equator, and they know how to leave and move and migration and things like that. As the seasons change. But nevertheless, it's like a gong. You bombing mountains, whether it's in ancient Turkey or ancient Iran, ancient Egypt, that geological what's the word? Element or rock or crust that could be from an ancient epoch period. You start disturbing that plate, that tectonic plate, could cause an earthquake in Florida. I'm not making this up, man. I study geology. I don't have to show all my credentials to prove that. But trust me, I went to college. I've studied geology as that was one of my multiple courses in it. So I'm not making it stuff up. I'm just keeping it simple. That tectonic structure may reach a structure in, I don't know, Illinois, or a tsunami. So every time you punch them, and you thinking, because the Roman commander Trump and his legion bombing the shit out of them, bombing them in their civilization, may cause adverse weather here in Illinois or on the East Coast. And you wondering why you guys are getting monsoons and flooding and rain and earthquakes, or as you mentioned, exorcism, tsunamis, or you're like, yo, what the hell? Yeah, because you disturbing tectonics, and that we're all interconnected. Somebody drop a hydrogen or atomic bomb in Iran, you don't think the fallout won't hit America eventually? Kind of like what happened in Fukushima, which nobody talks about anymore. What happened in Fukushima with the nuclear reactors, and how the Pacific coast is still affected by high levels of radiation and the food and the wildlife and in those regions near the West Coast from what happened in Fukushima. See, this is the fools don't think like that. People that's not in touch with the source don't think like that. That what you did at Troy, destroying the temples at Troy, affected what happened in the ocean. And it affected your relationship, quote unquote, with Poseidon, the Greek god of the ocean, of the sea. And because of that, your nation, your legion was hit with hurricanes and tsunamis and typhoons and a cyclone in the ocean that killed all your men. You talk about Homer and philosophy of philosophies. I love philosophy. I haven't studied books of Aristotle. I didn't study, Homer's Iliads, and like I told you guys earlier, I read Dante's Inferno. The Greek, call it the comedy or of Dante. And yeah, these are all, in some case fictional or whatever, people may say fictional or whatever, but there's a lot of deep philosophy in it. So I just, I even put my channel to subject of documentary, because I don't even feel like I'm educating anymore. I don't feel like it's politics. I don't feel like it's religion, spirituality anymore. I feel like I'm just documenting. My YouTube channel is now just a documentary. I'm just documenting and speaking verbal documentary of what's happening. So if there's a time capsule somewhere, maybe, I could bury it on the, and somebody find this shit from, 100, 200 years from now, they'll find a thumbstick, whereas my videos letting people know the state of the world was back 200 years ago, just in case things go belly up. So we're all documenting the collapse, the end of modern civilization as we know it, due to the cause and effect of what happens with nature. What goes up must come down. You get too big-headed, you get too arrogant, and you start to, become too fat, then things explode. Things then decompress. It now shrinks. It now expands and contracts. America is contracting. And when things contract, things get tight. Money get tight. Attitudes get tight. Society gets tight. When things get tight, people get agitated, irritated. People start feeling the pinch. $8 gas. Now people fighting at the pump. Now robberies go up. Now people get murdered over $8 gas, or now people gas tanks are getting siphoned at night because people can't buy gas, so they stealing gas out cars. And because people stealing gas out cars, they don't know what they're doing. Now fires become widespread because food lights a match near gasoline, cars explode, fires start. Now you got Chicago fires, cities burning, all as a domino effect because of gas prices. Now people ain't robbing for drugs no more because people don't have money to pay for the drugs. So now you're getting murdered for bread and rice and milk, Infamil. People lights get cut off because they can afford high energy costs because the bomb in Iran raised energy costs. Even more importantly, now because of gas prices and the petrodollar being backed by oil, which was done by the legionnaires of Rome doing the Daddy Bush errors, we can't use our cars to travel to get away from disaster because you don't have enough money to put in the gas tank, because the gas pumps has ran dry because there's no more just-in-time delivery because everything stops, because if diesel prices are so high that the trucks can't fill up their tanks, then they can't deliver food to the grocery stores. So now you can't drive to go get food that you need. But thank God you got an EV vehicle, but the EV vehicles don't work because the power outages, because the facilities are being ran by fuel that stops because you bombing Middle East countries that provide the fuel that Daddy Bush was doing, and they knew that's why they got so rich. They can't now turn on the electrical EV pumps to charge the EV vehicle. So now just like leave the world behind, you stuck, and the vehicles now lose communication to Starlink. And it's hot outside, and now the EV vehicles sit out in the sun too much. They explode because of lithium batteries. You see how I'm going with this domino effect, and I can keep going. And then because of AI, you allow AI to take over. You can't control the vehicle no more because AI became sentient and now took over the vehicle to drive it in the flood to drown you. So you got to jump out and swim out because you couldn't drive your girl's car with gasoline because the gasoline price, the pumps don't got oil, gas in it no more. The EV vehicles go haywire. Now you're forced to walk or ride a bike or grow food in your own backyard. And hopefully it's not toxic rain that's falling on the crops from the HAARP manipulation that could be poisoning the rain that lands in the ground, that's deadening your crops that you consume. So they didn't funnel us. Yeah, exactly. They didn't Stephanie, they and exorcism, they didn't funnel us in so many different ways. Now we're not totally, use the pun, totally proper fucked. Excuse my language. There's a way out, and that way out, I believe, is the people who get the lesson, the people who are in tune, the people that are in tune. And how do you become in tune? I'll give you one tip. I'll give you one tip. Staying ahead of the curve. Staying ahead, thinking ahead, and planning ahead. Now, my problem was, for example, I never had a gas generator. I didn't care too much for gas. I was more like solar. My solar worked until power extended over X amount of days. When power went out over X amount of days, my solar couldn't provide the things I needed to have provided for my family or for the time frame, whether that's cloudy skies. Maybe it wasn't enough solar energy hitting my banks and stuff. Because of that, I was limited. Don't get me wrong, still a great source, but it wasn't a mid to long term solution that was feasible for my situation. Now, because I was late on having a other plan, I had to hustle. Oh, let me drive to, I had to drive to Indiana. Oh, let me go to Indiana. I might have to hit up, go to Michigan. Let me go to Indiana and see what I can get. Because I'm not too far off, right? Let me see what I could do. Should I go to a couple of stores like Lowe's? I might have went to a couple of Home Depots. And it's a bill. It's 50 people trying to buy. Everybody trying to buy a generator. They only got like 8 of them out because stores like that, they don't have like 500 generators in boxes just waiting for people to buy. They don't keep stock like that. They may have maybe 10 per store, right? Because these things are 900, $800,000, right? They don't have them in surplus like that. Uh, so I'm trying to read y'all comments too. Let me see what you said right here. Exorcism. He says, hunter gatherers, farmers, and slaves, and technology humans are hackable animals. Yeah, that's exactly what they think. That's Yuval Harari. That's a good one right there. Exorcism. Stephanie says, going around the farm, setting things up for today's firestorm, listening to you, no fear, just eyes wide open, using all we have discussed and putting it into practice. Exactly, Stephanie. Exactly. You and my man. I agree. I agree. So going back to the story, so yeah, it's like 50 people trying to buy 5 or 6 generators. Got old black women, they don't know nothing, all due respect. They don't understand this, right? They don't understand it. They just reacting, right? Because they have no power. So they're talking, what is BTUs and what is 120 240 volt? What does that mean? And he's like, look, ma'am, I can't explain this. I'm trying to, I gotta load these things and these big old massive generators because everybody got power outages from Illinois to Indiana. I don't got time to explain this, ma'am. You should have did your research before you got here. You gonna buy it or not? Everybody's frustrated. And me, like an idiot, I'm there in the midst of it. I'm like I'm mixed with the sheep. And I'm thinking like, damn, like I didn't expect from my preps to have to do this because I just only calculated a certain day-to-day time frame. The time frame that I calculated, I didn't consider could it be a longer time frame. So that's on me. But nobody can, right? At the right amount of time, the survival rate is always going to be 0. You can't survive for 10 years without any food. I mean, what are we gonna do? We're gonna have 10 years worth of food stocked up? No. So we all gonna die eventually. Nobody can survive the unsurvivable. But nevertheless, you can mitigate things. You could find other ways. You could possibly live like ancient societies did without modern day systems if you understand what the human body needs in order to sustain. Hunter, like you said, hunters and gatherers. So everybody's like arguing over these generators, and I'm just like, man, I screwed up, man. I went to like 5 different stores, couldn't find it, couldn't find a generator because everybody bought them. So I'm sitting there waiting while everybody's talking. I go to this one black dude. He was like he was just loading them on a pallet to take them to the front register. And somehow I was able to kind of catch him off to the side. I said, "Yo, man." I said, "Man, y'all, you got one extra generator." I said, "It's 50 people, and you got 6 of them." It was a stupid question, but do you got at least maybe one out of the 6 that I could probably grab right now? He's like, "Yeah, I got one more." He's like, "I got one." I was like, "For real?" He's like, "Man, I got one." He's like, "Why everybody talking and running their mouth, talking about give me one and trying to ask questions? I got one right here." I was like, "Fam, let me grab that." I said, "I can grab that right now." I said, "You meet me at the front." He's like, "I got you." So he told his boss, he's like, "Yep, he ready to buy it right now." Everybody talking, asking questions. I already kind of knew what I wanted because I already knew my calculations, what I needed. And he was like, "All right, cool." So shit, he pulled it out I'm gonna keep it real with you. The generator was $1,000 damn. It was $1,000, but it was 9,000 watts. So I was like, okay, 9,000 watts. I'm like, yo, and it's a dual, right? It's a dual generator, which means it can do gas and propane. So pull it to the front. I'm like, damn, screw it. I'm going ahead and pay this money. Okay, pay the money, whatever. Load it up into the Jeep, took the shit home. Now I'm saying to myself, okay, I got a gas grill, right? I do the charcoal every now and then, old school, but I normally do propane. So I was like, so look it up. I looked up a couple of videos, learn how to use it, unbox it. My wife helped me set it up. Had 120, 240 volt, all that for what I needed. On top of my solar power panels. Um, Shit, put the propane in there, hooked it up, started that thing up. I felt like a caveman. We have fire. Like a caveman. The caveman. We have lights. Like fire, lights. Slapping on my chest and shit, like a caveman. But my family was happy, obviously, right? But that propane, that motherfucking generator ran for 12 hours straight on a propane. I'm like, yo, that's a day. Now, you can store propane outside. So I'm like, okay. So I go to the stores. Like, man, so I bought like three 20-pound, three 20-pound canisters of propane. Now, some people buy 100 pound, and they're safe if you keep them outdoors. And you can run off of propane for shit. I knew what that dude I was talking to. He had a 100-pound propane, and then there was like a major outage, like a hurricane. I think he was in Florida. He ran his generator off of propane. I think they was good for the whole week before power came back up. Everybody around him going crazy. It's hot. People dying in, heat, strokes, food, just overall frustration levels out the roof. His whole house was lit up. And he was like, "We good. We got AC pumping. We straight. We running off gen with 100-pound propane. We good." I was like, "Word." So 20-pound propane lasts 12 hours. Now we didn't have it running all day. We had it running at like 1 o'clock in the morning, like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You do the math from 1 o'clock till midnight. My whole neighborhood, I was the only one lit up. Everybody else dark, pitch black. Now I got to be careful with that because I don't want to create too much of a fingerprint, if you feel what I'm saying. But shit, whole neighborhood dark. Everybody like, damn, this the only house got lights. Did your power get back on? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Now that is a redundancy, right? I got other plan, but that's a extra plan just in case the other plan don't work out. So that's how we have to think. You got to have a backup plan for a backup plan for the backup plan. And I didn't have a redundancy source of there was a hole in my plan for mitigation. And that mitigation was, okay, power goes out for 2-3 days, no food for 2-3 days. Okay, I'm good. What if you have no food for a week? What if you have no food or lights for a month? What if you have, like for me with my Jeep, you may have 20 gallons of gasoline to get you to the border, to go to Mexico or whatever, Canada, whatever the hell you're trying to do to get out of the B system or whatever. But what if you run out of gas, or the pumps are uh, dried out, or if the roads are blocked and you can't use your vehicle to go off road to get out to hit the other area that allows you to get to another destination? Do you have a vehicle that's capable? Do you not have a vehicle that's capable? Do you have tires that are capable? Do you have tools that are capable? You got to think of it like that. We have to think like that. One of the next things that I'm thinking about doing, which I really need to start thinking about investing in, is a boat. If the will of the god Poseidon decides to flood America because of the violation of Zeus's religion, do you have a way to do you have a flotation device to get out of your community if you can't drive? Life jackets. Maybe everybody know how to swim, but can you swim in a when a flood river is blowing through your city or your community, life jackets. I don't know if too many people that can swim through that type of water conditions. I don't care if you're the best swimmer in the world. Those that current, once that current takes you, it takes you. And ain't no amount of swimming energy is going to help you unless you have some type of flotation device or something that can sustain you. So I go to Dick's Sporting Goods and stuff like that. Measure your weight. If you're a big guy or a small girl, find a some type of flotation device that can sustain your body weight. Don't get something that's underpowered, because once you put it on and you get caught in the ocean, you're gonna sink, because it has to be big enough to hold your mass, your body mass. So there is calculations that you can find that determine your weight. Winter storm. Winter time is coming up, right? We're entering August. Well, today is August, and what happens if this is just the winter time? What do you do to heat yourself? What do you do to keep warm? Propane can also be used to warm you up. I have a buddy, like a buddy heat furnace. The same propane that I can use for the generator, I can use small propane to heat the house if in the event the power goes out during a winter storm. It's a lot easier in the summertime to have ways to give you energy, but in the wintertime it's a lot harder, because heat produces way more energy than a AC unit versus a heater, a space heater. I think a space heater or something like a heater could be anywhere between 1,000 to 3,000 watts. So you got to keep that in mind. I mean, like I said, I got a 9,000 generator, 9,000. So if I need to run a heater or a furnace, I could probably do that. So you need to think about things like that if you decide to go that generator approach. My community has never experienced this type of weird weather in years that I've been here, in decades that I've been living here, which leads me to believe that areas that you don't expect to have severe thunderstorms or tornadoes or wind is happening in cities all across America that has not prepared for this type of event. So it makes you wonder, why is tornadoes hitting areas that is unheard of? It's unheard of. Something's off. Something's weird is going on. Something is screwed up. Now, if this is tornadoes and flooding and earthquakes, imagine what's going to happen in the winter. You're going to see catastrophic snowstorms that we've never seen before. Like 10 feet of snow in one night. Like, yo, I've never seen this much snow ever. Now, what do you do if all that snow is piled up at your door, blocking your gutter system, not gutter system, your exhaust vents? Could you suffocate in your house? Could you, and with your your heat running and all that stuff, could you get carbon monoxide poisoning? So make sure you clear out ventilation systems if snow reaches a certain height around your property, because you be messing around, you're sleeping, and all that exhaust doesn't have a way to get out your house and escape, and that stuff is coming back in because the snow is packed so high around your house. You have to think about things like that. You have to think about things like that. See, I'm trying to use this channel to teach or try to educate people about life, like real lessons, man, that we miss. But I'm glad to talk to you guys. I haven't. It's been about a couple of weeks now, so Wise is not far. You guys can always hit me up. Wise Wake Up is 1994 at gmail.com. You can email me. If you don't hear from me for a couple of weeks, if you just want to hey, yo, Wise, man, what's good with you? I do a pretty good job at responding to emails and stuff like that. So definitely, if you don't, hear from me, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here. I just may not do a video every single day, but I will speak as needed, and I will make my presence known when I feel like it's time for me to speak and share my thoughts. But you're all right. You guys know how I operate. So I hope this video was helpful. I pray for you guys, peace. I pray for wisdom. for you guys. I pray for protection um, of our families, of our minds, our bodies, our spirits, and I pray that we are given the voice of discernment as we navigate these strange days and times. I pray that the universal source guide and protect those that it chooses, and that that hopefully the next conversation we all will be able to talk again, and at some point communication is going to get cut off, lights are going to get cut off, people are going to get cut off, and I just hope that people, that we all remember each other, that we all treasure the moments that we do get a chance to talk, to speak, to comment. Whether I know you guys physically, if I ever met you guys physically, I feel like I met y'all physically. I do feel like y'all are close to me, the people that continue to rock with me. But if we never ever meet again, I appreciate you all. I love you all. But at the same time, I'm hopeful that we will meet again, and we get the opportunity to continue to educate each other into communion a little bit before things get really really serious out here in the world. If y'all need anything from me, any advice, and I hope it's even from me, if I need any advice from you all, I pray that there is a way that we can kind of maintain communications, whether that's through email, for those who really need friends during these strange times. And when the lights go out, I do hope that there are people out here that I've met on social media, as scary as that sound, um, that one day we'll be able to meet each other, and that could be us all trying to hit the border. We're trying to hit Canada. We're trying to make it to Alaska, whatever. And then all of a sudden, I get pulled off to the side of the road. I end up talking to somebody, and I'm like, "Yo, Stephanie, is that y'all? Who are you? I'm Wise. Wise. You never know how you will meet people, and you never know. Maybe one day something like that will happen. We all migrating. We all trying to move. We all got the voice. We all got the word that it's time to get the hell out. We got to go. And you never know how people will eventually come back together. And that's how you know it's the source, the universal creator that's guiding us all through. You feel me? So, um, yeah, man, I love you guys. Be cool. I'm gonna get up out of here and enjoy my day and try to get some things done. And yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate that, Kim Trail. You my man. You always okay. Well, you always, yeah. Y'all. We talk. So you guys, please stay in communication with me. I know we don't do a lot of emails like we used to, but you and Stephanie both continue to stay in contact with me if things get darker and scarier and more crazier. You wouldn't be surprised what I may I may say, yo, I may have to take y'all up on that offer, Stephanie. I'm on my way. I got enough gas. I think I can make it across. So, but either way, I love y'all, man. Be cool, be safe, man. And yeah, absolutely. And I'll see you guys in the next one, okay? All right, y'all. Take care, man. Peace, peace. Love y'all.